Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you who were at the AstraZeneca talk last night will remember me as the guy whose brain is on fire. So it has not ceased burning. This is wonderful. Definitely the best conference I've been to all year. I think it's fair to say that. So thank you, Steve, for bringing me along. Okay, National Highways. Our mission at National Highways is to connect the country. We do that by building, operating and maintaining roads, motorways and the busiest roads in England that are collectively known as the Strategic Road Network. We have a lot of things, assets, so things like bridges, streetlights, electronic message signs, miles of pavements, surfaces on which cars and lorries can go. And these together are worth something like £150 billion. So there's a lot of value there from those assets, those physical assets. But physical assets are not the only assets that National Highways owns. 5 years ago, our Chief Data Officer commissioned a data valuation to estimate the potential value of National Highways' data assets, which concluded that it's got huge potential value of more than £60 billion. And mostly you will see that it's towards our logistics sector, because they are the ones for whom the roads being open for traffic is a huge deal. Okay, so 5 years ago, when I joined National Highways, our IT colleagues and leadership have recognized that we have a little bit of a problem. Our mission is to connect the country, but we can't quite know why some of our IT change programs are taking 10 years to complete, just to implement a new system. Why we have more than 70 or so asset management database systems, and these challenges were, they looked at them honestly and said, look, for us to be able to connect the country, us as an organization need to start connecting ourselves. So what does that look like?
So there's a basic principle in business that it's very hard to manage or indeed to serve something that you don't really understand. It's kind of guesswork otherwise. And this realization that because Highways' overall mission is to connect the country, but it's not connected as a company, the IT division was pretty honest with itself and said, well, we don't really have a very good model of how the organization actually works as a system to then be able to track where are the information assets, what are they used for, where does it move to, because it's such a siloed organization. If you look at the diversity of what happens in Highways, you've got everything from overseeing multi-billion-pound, huge, decade-long construction projects, right the way through to managing a whole fleet of traffic officers. You think of all of the high-level policy work done with government, and just this huge diversity in very siloed settings. So we were given this challenge to try to create almost like a digital twin, not of the operations, but just of the organization, so that the IT function, particularly the data function, could get a better understanding of how does this organization actually work. The big challenge was we were asked to do two things. One was to do that in a way that was data-driven, so don't just make it up, don't just create PowerPoints. This needs to be a machine-readable model. And secondly, can you do it in a way that humans would understand? What did we do? Do you want to go?
Thank you. So we've got some stuff to show you. This is the exciting bit. We've created a visual representation of National Highways, which is powered by this knowledge graph, and it consists of different visual maps that allow you to that you can explore, that anyone in National Highways can explore. And this one is called the activity map because the central question that it's seeking to answer is what work does National Highways need to do in order to connect the country? So, well, as I mentioned earlier, we plan roads and build them and then operate and maintain and renew them as and when needed. And these roads are consist of all those physical assets that are known as the strategic road network. We've got customers. And as we zoom in, we can get greater and greater level of detail and explore the knowledge graph at our own pace, at the right pace, as a person. So we have 6 objectives from the Department for Transport of the British government with several key performance indicators, and you can understand them one at a time, giving you this human-paced discovery of the graph without even knowing that it's a graph. So let's take a little look at what's going on in the operations world, which is really most of the company. So in the East region, which is Norwich and Norfolk, there are some folks who are looking after, there's people, organization units who are looking after the service delivery, that is taking calls from customers, that is scheduling roadworks, that is all of those things. And if I want to know, okay, I now know who are the people, who are the teams who do this, I might want to know then, well, in IT, what IT systems are they using to do this? Charm, I know that one. That's the one that took 10 years to implement. Well, why? What else is to do with Charm? And you can see that actually there's various separate IT systems there. So it allows human beings to explore the graph at their own pace. To learn that it stands for, we love a good acronym, the Common Highways Agency Rijkswaterstaat Model. How cool is that? It's the acronym that when you start, you never know what people are talking about. Okay, the second thing I want to show you is if that was like your Google Maps-like experience of exploring the knowledge graph, then this is your Wikipedia-like experience of exploring the knowledge graph. So when it comes to IT systems, because we work in IT, we might want to take a look at them and understand what's going on with them. So I can search them and get just the right amount of detail on each of these systems that I need to know, and then you can have that real human experience that I'm sure we've all done of like you're discovering knowledge by clicking on the next thing on Wikipedia. Oh, what's that about? And what's that about? And oh my God, what is that? An ex-employee owning an IT system? You might even discover that your data is not perfect and complete and accurate. And how good is that? Because then you can give feedback so that the people who are the owners of those records, they can take action and say, oh, well, we either need to fix the data and just put the right person's name there who has taken over from Sammy, or perhaps we need to solve the actual problem and we need to assign that responsibility to someone. So yeah, it's really making this simple for our colleagues, because for a lot of companies who are IT native and digital native, I think is the word, this is knowledge graphs, data, connected data. It's obvious, but really when our colleagues who are from an engineering, from a road maintenance and building background, none of this stuff is intuitive, and it's not obvious why this is good. So it's about making it understandable. Okay. Benefits. Why is it worth doing? And this will be, again, obvious, I think, to you. So I want to talk really about the first one, which is what has given us the mandate and has already paid for the product and the time that we're spending on building it together with Steve, because we spend, I think, about £1 billion every year on outsourcing and consultancies. Now, if anyone's been in consultancy, I was 6 years ago before I joined National Highways. I there is a huge cost of getting up to speed with the organization that you're trying to help. So if we can accelerate the speed at which our consultants are gaining the contextual awareness of the organization they're trying to help, then there is immense, immense value in that for the company that is paying for all that. That's us. The exciting thing that I didn't want to forget to tell you here is this is the first year, this last year was the first year where we actually had demand coming to us. So I was at the AstraZeneca talk as well last night, and it's a huge breakthrough when they recognize the value of this, and the CFO is in charge of business planning, has given us the mandate to set the schema for business plans in a way that they can be better business plans because they're connected amongst the various parts of the organization, but they can be also part of the knowledge graph. And so we're getting to that place of having strictly interoperable data. So what we want to tell you about is in the second part is some of the lessons that we've learned along the way. Please forgive me, it's a bit clickbaity, but we all know that data on its own has no value. I mean, you know, I didn't need to bring the exhibit that ChatGPT has helped me create, but there we go. Productivity is not going up just because we have more data. I want to go further though. I want to say that connected data on its own also doesn't have value. For it to have real value, it needs to be usable by the people who are on the ground, and needs to connect to the questions that they need answering. I feel like this is really the theme of the conference, actually. It's like, what are the needs of the human beings who need to make decisions?
Just a few more lessons that I've learned from this process. It's been a few years from the initial proof of concept to now, and it's been back and forth, and now we're getting really, really good traction. What have we learned along the way? So the first thing I want to point out, and this should be a lot more obvious than it is, but people assemble themselves in tribes. We've been around the organization, I'm sure you guys have been around your organizations long enough to see transformation programs come and go, and consistently they generally don't fulfill their promises. If you look at the very start of any transformation program, when you have the kickoff event and you have to get all the people who are involved in a room, look where they sit, and then listen to how they talk to each other, and then look at how they behave. And then I think almost every program I've ever been involved in, I can put a point where maybe like 9 months or maybe it's a year later, people realize you didn't mean the thing that we meant when you used that word. And you realize that you've wasted a whole ton of time. And I've got a bit nice, I really like this picture. That's kind of a bit hard. These are goldfish bowls. I think this is how the world is. When you get to a certain level in your career, a certain level of middle management, you might notice this, that people all start using the same words. We're all talking about services and customer centricity and capabilities, and it's just much easier to assume that when other people use the word, they mean the same thing that we mean by it. So we just carry on because, hey, whoa, they're into capabilities, we're into capabilities, we can all go on our nice capability mission, and we've all got a nice board of capabilities, and it really doesn't. So much of it means is based on your tribal affiliation. And that leads on to this third lesson, that there's this huge problem that we tend to treat that first problem about connecting people and getting shared meaning between people as a separate type of problem to the data problem. And I want to suggest that's because there are tribal affiliations there as well. So if you've got the people at the top, there is a cluster of people who really love facilitating, who really love Post-it notes. And if they see there's a room full of people who need to be drawn together and have a shared vision, let's create a shared picture of what we're trying to do, let's get those outcomes, they're all over it. And then there's another group of people down here for whom, like, that's just a nightmare. You know, what I really want, like, if I'm really honest, is I want a pull request. Because if I have a pull request, it shows me exactly what you've decided to do. It shows me where it came from, and everything is nightly trust. But the people at the top have no idea what you just said. Like, what's a PR? No idea, right? And these groups tend to stay apart from each other. So what I want to suggest is that what you need to find is a way to do both of these things at the same time. And unfortunately, all the commercial incentives are dead against this. Because I've divided this horizontally in the previous slide, but here, if you think about it vertically, the fit that actually matters to most people is I'm sitting next to somebody who gets me and can solve my problem. And the chances are that is a tool vendor of some kind. Because if this is, I don't know, this is the finance, let's say it's the finance tribe on the left, and this is the, I don't know, engineering tribe on the right, or this is HR, or whoever it is, the problems that you have in your domain, what you really want is somebody to come along and give you a solution. I don't want to understand the technology. I just want to know that this thing will work. And this is the license fee. And the data conversation is somewhere way further down the line. So this idea that the data can be neutral, that the technology is neutral, I think is just wrong. I think technology is just as tribally aligned as people are. So how do we do the shared meaning intervention, which joins both of these things together at the same time? Right, case in point, and this is from our experience. It's just the last year where as Gergely said, we're starting to get demand, and one of the bits of demand was, can we try for the umpteenth time to do a service cataloging project and actually get a list of what our IT services are, because we've got thousands of the things. And they've been keep trying to do this over and over and over again. So we took a different tack on it this time. We brought everyone into a room and we put on a wall all the different representations that people have from their tribes of what business services actually are. And it really depends who you ask. If you're an enterprise architect, a business service is very different to if you're an ITSM person and you have a service catalog. It's very different if you're a strategist, if you're a portfolio owner. And we got all these different definitions and said, you need to resolve this because that's the fundamental reason why you can't generate a service catalog. It's because everyone's going off thinking they're doing something different. Lesson 4, you need some way to build a bridge between those communities. So not just building the bridge between the different tribal silos and the functional parts of the business, but also between these two types of delivery, the technical delivery trying to create shared meaning between applications and data, and the people-focused delivery, running those workshops, trying to get everyone on the same page about what they're trying to do. So we're not here to tell you, you should do it the way we've done it. We're not here to sell you a product, to say the thing that we've done is what you should do, but just to challenge you about how you're doing this, because it's something you need to think about. And just to enter into the thought processes for that, because we've done this through using visual maps, as you've seen, as the way in to try and create things which are both machine readable and also nice and friendly for users, and we've got complete control over what the visuals are like. But just to enter into the thought process of why did we do that? It's not because we're particularly into visuals or particularly into maps, but there's reasons why those ways of doing it cross. Oh, that's a shame. The slides have got messed up. Oh, you don't get to do the fun exercise.
Maybe you can get a refund? I don't know. Talk to Mike.
Something's happened to our slides in transit. This is really sad. Okay, well, you can see what I was trying to do. You were supposed to just see the words. And there's this fun thing. It's actually really fun to do this. When you just show those words and ask people which of these is not a bird. And watch the silence as everyone's trying to figure out what the trick question is. I think it's the zebra. But
Takes about 10 seconds.
Think about it. And you can sense how much bonhomie there is in the room between the groups, but how long this takes, because everyone's waiting. This must be a trick. He's trying to trick us. And it's really not. And then you do the thing just with pictures, and everyone goes, ah. And that's why you make things visual. Because you can say tomato, and I can say tomato, and that group has some other word of saying it. But if I show you this red object that everyone's tasted, we know what you're talking about, which is why you do things visually. Why do you do things with maps? I don't trust the slides anymore, but let's see what happens next. Both together, like all of the research says this. Like the skill you get up in learning and knowledge acquisition when you see what the thing is and you attach the label to it, everyone now knows what that label means. Right, oh, this slide works. Situation report at the end of the D-Day invasion. Lots of data. The thing that you don't even notice when you look at this map is the familiarity of the map itself. So you can see that's Normandy. You can see this is, if you know the shape of France, then you know where you are. And the challenge is, for most organizations, there isn't an equivalent conceptual map of what the data means at a systems level for the whole organization. So if I take the map away, like, what's that? But that's often what you're left with, right? When you're going through all of your tables trying to figure out, well, is that, or that? What is the conceptual map that endures? Because most organizations, there's a bunch of PowerPoints that people have, but they're tribally aligned. what's the map that everybody can look at to make sense of the context of the data?
So the fifth and final lesson that we want to share with you is, it's got to be useful. And the way you know if it's useful, if people are using it. So the way we know Compass is being used, is being useful, is that it has a user base. Every month, people are clicking in and finding out different things. And so we are going out and speaking with them and asking them, so what are you using it for? And then when they say something like, oh yeah, I'm using it to do this and that, we then ask, let them, and is there any other comments? And then that's how we're learning gradually what people need to use it for. And one of the first thing is here, the org map is immensely valuable for those consultants because they have zero access to any knowledge without that. And so they're starting with nothing. But actually it's really valuable to our colleagues as well, because one of the things that they have little knowledge about is like, well, I can see who are my colleagues who are full-time employees and are salaried by National Highways, but I don't know what are all these consultants walking about the building and who's the sponsor and all those kind of questions. So they asked, well, can we add all suppliers to the map? And so we did. There are these little orange squares. And you can all of a sudden start to get a sense of like, well, they are working to connect the country too, actually. What are they doing? And the final thing that they said, which is worth noting, is ex-employees. It's such a pain when someone leaves and we don't know which team they worked in. Can you add that to the map? And well, guess what? We could, and so we did. And that's what we mean about it being useful, is that it's iterative and it responds to the things that people are actually needing. So the concluding question we want to leave you with is, how are you bridging the gap? Thank you very much.
So I hope you didn't finish that because I showed you a sign. You have 10 minutes left. Lots of time for questions. I see Yuan has a question.
I found the application so very impressive. Would you like to let me know, so how long has it taken to build the application until finalized?
So, shall I take it?
Yeah, you were here before me.
Yeah. So we built an initial proof of concept 5 years ago. And then as with these things, it sort of goes and wanes with particularly because it's public sector. So like budgets and budget allocation and which transformations are going on, how's this going to get assigned to, and sponsorship and so on. So I would say, to be honest, most of the problems, I'd say the proof of concept, we had a lot in there. Yeah, we worked very, very hard for about 9 months to get most of it in. But there were very few barriers because it was just sandboxed and, well, let's get that, let's get this, let's get it. And the fact that it was possible to do something was, I think, what everyone looked at and, well, we should probably do. But then it takes ages for all of the bureaucracy to work its way through to then get, just trying to onboard a new application in a public service.
It took about a year to go from into live and production and all the security things. And by the way, we know we're not reaching GDPR. That's an anonymized version. So there is a whole bunch of things to consider with these kind of products to be accepted by the IT community, right? So that this is a legit and workable solution.
Yeah. And I'd also say on that there are so many things that we probably shouldn't have been doing within the project team. You would like to see that all being done at an engineering level. There's so many pipelines we've created to make this happen, that would take a long time, where we've been cutting corners. What's happened over time is we're now handing a lot of those things back over to the business to do. So we're not doing the pipelines, which in some ways that slows things down, but it means now it becomes more robust. And there was one of the slides there where we said that we see this as a Trojan horse for graph, because it doesn't look like a graph. It just looks like this fun application. And then people start saying, well, how did you join that together? Because we've got like the service catalog is in there, we've got all the Oracle data, the cost center data, we've got all these different data sources that people didn't think could be connected before. and then they want to know how you did that. And now we're starting to get a backlog of people saying, as
Can you do
Gergely
this?
says,
Can you do that? And so it's like, whoa, slow down.
it's like you've built an enterprise knowledge graph by stealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very good question, and I love the idea that it's a Trojan horse because, you know, when you start off, you don't want to think about the complexities of a knowledge graph, right? Just want to be able to use it and get feedback, and I think that's the best way, and then explain what the technology is behind it.
Exactly.
Any other questions? Perfect.
Hello. Thank you very much for your talk. What are your plans for open sourcing either this or components from within this? I am a civil servant and I believe deeply in public money, public code, and I would love to hear that you do too.
Well, actually, I think it's a question for me. So we also believe in that. Yay! Right. There is a huge watershed moment for National Highways because we actually released 5 data services to the market through the Digital Lab 6 months ago. So those were, I mentioned the data valuation, we released the most valuable data sets on their own for a slightly, it's nothing to do with this use case, right? But wayfinders probably want to know what the speed limit is and where roadworks are happening and such things. When are we releasing this? That's a good question. I think there is a lot of conversations to be had because I'm a firm believer that a certain layer of this should be available to anyone as an open data set on National Highways website. But I think there is a lot of, the way organizations are designed is to avoid risk, and so what is there to be gained by making it open? And I think we have to win hearts and minds in that conversation. That that this is really valuable, where for example the location of roadworks, it's obvious what the value is for anyone to know that at any one point. I think the effort that it might take to release this, I don't know, it's not super obvious, right? So I think it's just not, it's hard to get it to the right level of priority so that it's worth the investment.
I have a question as for the policies and the access policies and permission policies that I guess you have to comply to since you are dealing with sensitive data. Are you dealing this into on the application layer, or are you having also some policies on the database level? So is this things embedded into the application itself?
So we're currently, you might be able to say a few more on this, but we're currently undergoing so initially, yes. However, we know why you're asking that question, and we know that the right thing to do is to break it apart. And that's exactly the journey that we're doing. But we couldn't break it apart until there was a service to look after the ontology. So 6 months ago, there was a tender to start up an ontology and taxonomy service, which my colleague Sushmita looks after at National Highways, and now such service exists, and therefore, that's what Steve mentioned, is we can hand them back that, and the application layer can be just the application, just the UX, right? And the data can be managed by the ontology and taxonomy service. So we're going through that very journey now, which I'm really, really excited about.
For you. It's a follow-up to that open access question. What strategies have been most effective in demonstrating ROI? Because it's hard, right? You just said it's not an easy thing to do.
The maths is really quite simple when it comes to consultancy fees. They are, like the average blended rate is somewhere like 750 to 800 pounds a day. So for some consultancies, and so when there is a transformation program, and there is always a transformation program in any big corporation, you can evidence that transformation program, you can shave maybe 1 or 2 weeks off that program. That in itself pays for the entire thing, right? And some, because For any organization that has that kind of situation of a high outsourcing to permanent staff member ratio, I think this is a no-brainer.
Can I just follow up on that? Which I think to answer the question on what's the strategy in demonstrating ROI, we could give you a whole range of benefits that we're seeing and that we're working towards. The value of that one is it's so easy for people to get. You know, there's a calculation and it comes out like this, and that's a surprisingly large number, but everybody gets it. And I suspect in most organizations, there's an equivalent thing where all you need to do is, look, this pays for itself just if we can solve this relatively routine. You know, at the other end of the spectrum, you mentioned about business planning. You know, a couple of years ago, there was nowhere in the overall data scheme of the organization for a business plan item to exist with the numbers attached to it. So it's all unstructured data that you're having to, like, we've sorted that. And the value of that, you know, is huge in being able to track spend to the regulator back down to actual activities that are doing. But that's really hard to explain to people. And like, how would you get a number at the end of that you can then compare with the cost? Whereas here's a day rate, here's how many, we've talked to everybody, they say they're saving this much time on each project. Like, it's simple.
Good to know. Thank you. More question. One last. This is the last question.
Yeah, just a quick question. Can you talk quickly about what your tech stack is? Like, is it RDF, and what triple store do you use, or is it Neo4j? Do you use Java? Any libraries? What vendors do you use for this?
We don't. Well, sorry, I say we don't. This is what's in progress. So, like the application, everything is sent to the client side, to the browser. So all of the triples, the reason it feels nice is there's not actually that many triples in there. It's like, I don't know, 500,000, something like that. And that gets refreshed every month through the pipeline. So there's all the pipeline and stuff is happening behind the scenes through a bunch of different technologies. The thing that it's instigated now, as Gergely is saying, over the last year, is the tech stack's starting to come in behind this, underneath it, but it's being owned by the appropriate people. So it's like that when I say this is a Trojan horse, like it's a proper full-on Trojan horse. It's like nobody knew what that thing was that was coming in 5 years ago. We didn't talk about RDF, we didn't say any of it. And now it's been sat there and people are actually really liking it and using it. And then a few years later, it's like, well, we should actually properly adopt this because we have all these use cases coming out of it.
But you must use a triple store.
Nope. We can talk about it afterwards.
It's magic. No.
Well,
like last night, I'm sure.
We don't use a vendor triple store, to be clear. Yeah, we have a very, very simple triple store, but we can talk about it.
You have a homegrown triple store, I guess.
Well, the thing is, this is the beauty of RDF. What is RDF? Right? Is it a data format? Is it a way of storing data? Is it what serialization do you like? You know, I can have a piece of paper and start writing things down in triples, and I've got a triple store. Yeah. Larger conversation.
I can add one sentence to that, which is from a National Highways perspective of the Ontology and Taxonomy Service, which is currently being set up. They are investigating, you know, the various options, and so our cloud partner here is Databricks, and so we are investigating which of those options fits best with that, because that's where the data lake is. Lake house or whatever it's called. That's the tech stack where the data sits. So it's got to be something that works neatly with that. But yeah, I think that's being worked out as we speak.
Thank you very much. I really love this presentation. And all right, maybe we could have our next speakers mic'd up, and you'll just take a couple of minutes. Thank you very much.